Fight Capital, where we step into the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rappaport. Today, I'm lucky to be joined by Ammari, the King of Violence, Diedrick. Ammari is a dynamic and versatile athlete fighting out of Derby, England. He's known for his formidable skills in both kickboxing and MMA, having competed in Glory previously and now in Octagon. His journey in the combat sports world is marked by significant achievements, and he continually showcases his exceptional ability to compete at and above his natural weight class. Thanks for joining me today, Ammari. Loving the sun back there. How are you and where are you joining from?
First of all, that was an amazing intro. I can't even lie to you. That was a banging intro, first and foremost. So yeah, that was banging. But yeah, right now I'm in Jamaica, paradise. As you can see, the sun's at the back, the sea's there, beach is there. So I'm in my element. I'm happy right now. You know.
Yeah, well, getting out of the cold and rain in the UK is always really nice.
Exactly
And
that.
love just to learn a little bit more about your journey in MMA and having come from kickboxing. I know that you spent some time training at Rough House Gym and sparring with top fighters like Dan Hardy and Paul Daly. Can you just talk a little bit about how that experience shaped your career into where you're at today?
Well, for me, I was part of Rough House from the age of 15. So 15, I was part of Rough House. My trainer at the time, was still at the time, my bad. I was junior amateur Thai boxing champion multiple times over. I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So with that, we started having to then have the hardest sparring round, trying to prove myself a bit more. So with that, my gym was the Rough House base. So we had Jimmy Warland, Andre Winner, Matt Howard, Matt Hallen, obviously Dan Hardy, Paul Daly, Gustafsson even came over a few times. Rampage Jackson came over one point, even Clay Vida. So we've had a few guys come through the Rough House scene. So being around those guys there, it was just, I don't know, man, it just made me who I am today, because when I was 15, 16, those guys were in their prime. So when we're sparring, it's violent, horrible sparring. I'm getting beat up. I'm just a buddy to them guys. I don't matter how old I am, because this is how it is, because they've got big fights coming up. We had guys in the UFC at the time, Bellator, Bama. So for them, it was big opportunities still coming up. So for me, it kind of made me into that field that I am now, regarding my forward pressure style, my no fear of getting hit. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, you can't dismiss how much that type of experience, particularly at a young age, means. And it's all about taking it to that next level, having gone through all of that fire, I'm sure. And you've successfully competed in Glory and kickboxing, and now you're in MMA. What motivated you to make that transition between those two different sports, and how do you think they're complementing each other in your training today?
You know what it was? COVID basically made me make my decision to go to MMA. COVID hit, and as we know, a lot of promotions just kind of went bust or weren't having shows at the time. Glory was one of them. They weren't giving no one any time unless you was from Holland. So for me, UFC was still going on strong, and a few promotions were starting to follow suit. So for me, my career in combat sports was never going to die because of anyone. So for me, I just decided to make the move to MMA. With that, the opportunities are bigger. Of course, the pay is way better than it is in kickboxing. So it was a no-brainer. I was always around the MMA guys. Yes, I wasn't doing too much grappling or wrestling at the time, but I was still around it. So therefore, I kind of had some know-how of what to do. But all I had to do was just fully dive into it and just really just pick it apart and just go head first into it. And that's what I've done.
Yeah, and you've spent time competing above your natural weight class. And, even people who are at their natural weight class and not cutting a bunch of weight, I always have a massive amount of respect for that. But what strategies have you always put into place to get yourself ready to compete against bigger opponents and people who are cutting and stuck in a lot of weight?
You just got to go in there and do what you got to do. My coach has always instilled into me a mentality where it's just kill or be killed in a sense. So at the end of the day, we're fighters, whereas a lot of guys now, they turn down fights and they just want to have easy fights. For me, I've kind of approached MMA as I've done my Thai boxing and kickboxing, where I just fight anyone, anytime, any place. Whereas a lot of guys don't really do that. They do take the big fights, but they might do it 10 or 12 fights down the line. Whereas me, I've just gone head first in, and say, listen, yeah, I'm here, I'll fight anyone I need to fight, because that's just me and how I was trained, how I fought, coming from Thai boxing and kickboxing, where you go into the deep end straight away. Where you've had 10 fights or 5 fights, you just go and fight guys that have had 50 fights, 60 fights, sometimes even 200 fights. So for me, an opponent's an opponent. We all bleed the same, you know. Sometimes I find it easier fighting the bigger guy than I do fighting someone my weight, or, you know. So I don't know, man. It's just that's just me. I just find it easy, and like I said, we just go in there and do what we need to do. We lose or draw, it has to be done.
Yeah, big or smaller. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. And you've also competed against people with a whole bunch of different types of styles. Who's been your toughest opponent to date that you think, and who has that been and why?
I don't think it comes down to the toughest opponent. I think it comes down to the toughest situation. So debuts are normally hard for me. Going on to new shows, I feel like I put a lot of pressure onto myself, i.e., the octagon fight. I fought the number 8 guy in the division. So for me, I wasn't essentially trying to put pressure on myself, but in the back of my head I was. So with that kind of made it a hard situation, because I just wanted to go out there and just prove that I can be the best this early on. So clearly the pressure was kind of like messing up my game plan and everything. So I feel like, as far as opponents go, everyone's just hard. They're within their own right. But for me, it's always the situation. So the situation's that for me. So my octagon debut was a tough one. My glory debut, even though I won that one, was a tough one because of the situation again. You first fight on a massive world stage, so a lot of those things kind of play a factor with me. That's just me in general. That a lot of people might not be the same, but for me, yeah, it is.
I know that obviously Octagon is just like up and up in terms of the quality of the promotion and the fighters coming through there, and they're getting a lot of great cred right now. Can you just talk a little bit about that experience, what it's like being with them? I mean, I've been a big fan of the fights they've been putting on.
I'll be honest with you, I've never been on a promotion like in my life. I've never been looked after the way I've been looked after there. I've never seen, just it's just crazy. The way they just fill out arenas so easy, the production, the staff, everything's just crazy. Just even going to Czech Republic, I've never in my life would I think, yeah, I'm gonna go fight in Czech Republic. But the things that they're doing across the European scene, Eastern Europe, West, East, Central, I think they're slowly gonna take over. If not, already have taken over. It's essentially they are going to be the UFC of the European scene, and it's going to be at a point where a lot of guys don't have to go to UFC. Essentially, you know, they're putting on a lot of big fights, they're putting money into it. The tip sport game changer, where someone just wants 300,000 euros. You know, so with that, there's options now for athletes. Whereas before, you just had to go to UFC. Whereas now, you don't have to. You know, and for me right now, Octagon's my home. The plan for me now is to get to the top 10 and eventually go for that title. So right now, I'm happy where I'm at, and I'm just gonna keep growing within this company and just be one of the best within Europe.
Yeah, man, I think you hit the nail on the head just in the way they're growing and the amount of quality coming through there. I mean, 2 people at gym I used to train at, Bojan Velečević and Mallory Martin, coming over from the US, just getting that level of talent in there definitely speaks to what they're doing for promotion. And it's just great seeing the fighters getting paid as well, because that scene is there. I think the European scene is for the taking, never mind just Eastern European, but Western Europe as well. There's arguably people are struggling to put on high quality, not just being a regional promotion, right, but actually being like a real big time global promotion. Yeah, being not necessarily being the UFC, but being able to represent the best quality fighters has been huge to see.
100%. But for me right now, they're just doing the most. And it was a choice between the PFL and Octagon. Clearly, I wanted Octagon, but purely the fact of how they're just running things. You know, what I mean, PFL for me is just, I don't know. I think like they're just doing too much right now, and it's just not making a lot of sense. Whereas for me, this early on in my career, I need to be active. I just need the constant fights. I'm about to go. I fought in December. These are already talking about having me on again very soon, and it's just the communication skills is just easy. They're easy to deal with. If you want to fight, you fight. That's it. There's no messing around. There's no this, and this. You say to them, "Listen, I want to fight here." Okay, we'll get an opponent. That's done. And this is and that's how it should be. At the end of the day, I want to fight. I want to be active this early in my career. Yes, granted, when I get to like 20 or fights or whatever, cool. But right now, I need to just have fights on fights on fights on fights. If I can have 3 fights a year, happy days. And I think with these guys, I can definitely have that, if not 4. You know, they just want guys that want to fight. And I think that's how Eastern Europeans kind of handle the fight game. Whereas you want to fight, fight. Don't talk about it, just do it. And that's how I am. I don't talk, I just get in there and get it done.
Yeah, it's always nice finding a promotion that's going to give you the ability to go out there and perform and do it more than just once or twice. And yeah, that's some feedback I've heard from some other leagues out there. And then it seemed to be paying pretty well too, which is pretty awesome to see. Looking ahead, obviously you want to be out there getting as many fights in as possible. Do you have any long-term goals in combat sports, and how do you plan on achieving that?
For me, the goal is obviously to be world champion. That's everyone's goal essentially. But for me, I want to be able to leave my own mark on the sport. But for me, I want to be known as one of the most violent guys out there, essentially. So I don't feel like having world titles is enough to be a legend in this game anymore. You need to also be able to leave your own mark, leave your own message behind. And for me, that's what it is. I want to be known as one of the most violent, if not most violent guy in the European scene, essentially the world, and just go from there. So for me, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to achieve. It's about legacy and greatness. Yes, the world titles help that, but I need to have my own mark. You know what I mean? Look at Mike Tyson. He's had titles on titles, but people know Mike Tyson for being the violent guy that he is. Same with Muhammad Ali and so on and so forth. So you have to just leave your own mark within the sport.
People appreciate skill, you know, or the fans who do know the sport appreciate skill, but there's just always so many more casual fans. And in the end, it's about the performance, about the people going out there for the KO and working to get that finish. That's what makes get people up into the UFC as well. If you're just pointing everyone every single time, yeah, for sure. And I know you're in sunny Jamaica right now, and your Caribbean heritage is a big part of your life, especially in the kitchen. How does your passion for cooking influence your training and diet as a fighter?
You know what? The way I cook and eat, I eat a lot. I'm a proper foodie guy. My coach, my teammates, they all know that. So for me, I eat a lot, but I eat clean. With my heritage being Jamaican and St. Lucian, obviously my diet is predominantly Caribbean cuisine and so on and so forth. So with that, it does help a lot for me to be able to maintain the weight that I'm always at. You know, I don't go too high, and I'm just be able to keep it there. So with that, it's easy. And my passion of food has just come. I can start when I was about 11 years old. I got taught to cook from a young age, and it's kind of stuck with me ever since that. Fighting's my passion and my hobby, but outside of that, I love to just fucking just experiment. And who knows, man? When I've got the millions and everything, I could be franchising things out. So for me, after fighting, food is definitely a thing I want to go into, you know, business wise and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah, right there with you, brother. I love to cook. What's your favorite dish to cook? Do you have something that you always are that's always on rotation?
Everyone's always got a dish that's on rotation. So for me, it's gotta be my rice and my curry chicken, 100%. My curry chicken, my rice, my steamed veg. Yeah, definitely that has to be that. That's not my favorite dish, but that's just always on rotation. You know, it's just a dish to me that's just so easy, and I can make it 10 out of 10 every single time. You know, so for me, curry chicken definitely. Curry goat as well, mutton as well. Yeah, so definitely that's another one that's up there, 100%.
I know, got the beautiful sun out there. It's early morning. Want you to take advantage of the day. Are there any sponsors or anyone that you want to give a shout out to?
First of all, I got to always shout my team. Fourth Dimension MMA, Renegade in Birmingham, Ammari in Liverpool as well. You know, that's another place I want to start training as well to get my jiu-jitsu up. My sponsors, Blue Wave Security, OG, and Burgerwood UK back in Derby.
Yeah, man, always love that. I'll make sure to tag them in the interview and the posts as well, man. But hey, thanks for being here today. I know you're taking the time out, spend your time with the family and being at a beautiful place like that. I always appreciate it.
It was a pleasure, man. It's got to be done. Work has to be done. You know, work, no matter what, we're here.
Yeah, amen, man. Well, hey, looking forward to getting this interview out, and thanks for being here today.
No worries. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.